So sometimes we are, in the name of humbleness, we become so humble that we may completely forget. Maybe it will be time for us to say, okay, goes back to the Godhead. Wow, amazing. Got my hair standing. Goosebumps. Okay, let's do this. Atmastriyapatya suhrudda balaruddha kosham. I know it's a little long, sorry. You can go it. I'll do it a little slower. Atmastri apatya suhrudda balam rudha kosham. Very good. Antapuram pravihara bhuvascharamya. Bhumandalam jaladi mekhalamakalaya. कालोपसृष्टमिति सा प्रययौ विशालम् आत्मस्त्री अपत्य सुहृदो बलरुद्ध कोशम अंतःपुरं परिविहार भुवश्च रम्या भूमंडलं जलधि मेखलमाकलय्य कालोपसृष्टमिति सा प्रययौ विशालम्. It's a sound bite, isn't it? Mouthful. Okay, who wanna give it a shot? आत्मस्त्री अपत्य सुहृद बलरुद्ध कोशम अंतःपुरं प्रविहार भुवश्च रम्या भूमण्डलं जलधिमेखलमाकलय्य कालोपसृष्टमिति स प्रययौ विशालम्. आत्मस्त्रपत्य सुहृदा बलरुद्ध कोशम आत्मस्त्रपत्य सुहृदो बलमृद्ध कोशम अंतःपुरं परिविहार भुवश्च रम्या भूमण्डलं जलधिमेखलमाकलय्य कालोपसृष्टमिति सा प्रययौ विशालम्. Atma, body, Stri, wives. The root of that word Stri, I mean, some of you may already know, I like to search in Sanskrit dictionaries. Stri is something that expands, some expands and establish our life here. So that transforms into wives, ladies, things like that. Apatya, children. Suhruda, friends. So Suhruda is these words in English. Hruda comes straight from English. Sorry, the English word heart comes straight from Sanskrit. Hrit, heart, same words. Su goes into Greek as you because Su becomes silence and becomes you. So Suhruda, eugenics, you, anything good. Even Superman, the Su in Superman is the great good man, Superman. So Suhrut is someone very close to our heart, which is friends. So the words in the Sanskrit actually represent, the words in the Sanskrit indicate what they represent. That's very interesting. Even the names were like that. The names they would give you would represent your psyche and character. Yudhishthira, someone is steady in the battle. Bhima, someone is ferocious. Bhishma, terrible. The names are the representations of people's characters and psyches. Very interesting. Bhishma is like very ferocious, terrible vow. Someone who has taken a terrible vow. And Bhima is someone is ferocious. Yudhishthira is someone is just still and steady in the battle. It's not like what is his name? The Paris in Odyssey. When Paris, the little boy in Odyssey, when he has to actually face Agamemnon's brother, he keeps running from the battle. Oh my God! First he challenges, but he comes and then he's running. And his brother Hector's come on, you can't run like that. Face like a man. So Yudhishthira is someone who's steady in the battle. He doesn't run away. So names represent what the action and the psyche of the person. So it's a very, very interesting developed language. The language tells a lot about what these people were meant. And for me, it's just mind-blowing. Balam, influence. Army, and also army. Riddhakosham, rich treasury. Antapuram, female residential quarters. It's not necessarily, of course, because it's in relation to Dhruva Maharaj, it's been translated as female residential quarters, but Anta is something internal. Puram is like a city, something internal to the city. So Anta comes into English as inter, same things. And Puram comes into English as Ra and La are interchangeable. Like Praharada, Prahalada, Ra and La are interchangeable. So police, metropolitan, police, cosmopolitan, all the polar words in English, which it relates to city, comes from Pura. So Antapuram in English becomes Interpol. The close knit, what is it? 196 countries, police that work together in a close knit for a very steady network and security of the world. So Interpol, Antapura, the internal police. Anyway, I hope I'm not boring you with all these linguistics. Very interesting when we see how it relates to our common world, isn't it? Classic. Parivihara Bhuva, pleasure grounds. Cha and Ramya, beautiful. You can see where the word Rama indicates beautiful. Bhumandalam, the complete earth. That's interesting because Sataputta Prabhu wrote a book called Vedic Astronomy. I have a few copies of it, and as you can imagine, I've gone through inside out. From his point of view, Bhumandala is when you see the planetary galaxy, like the pizza saucer with all the shining stars. That's Bhumandala. So, and Dhruva Maharaj's father, Uttanapada, which is Manu's son, they were ruling the whole planetary system. It's not just one planet. So Bhumi, when it comes to Bhugolam, then it's Earth. But when it's Bhumandala, we are talking about when you see the planetary systems pictures and videos on the Google, the shining kind of a circling pizza kind of thing, that's Bhumandala. Vedic astronomy, classic book. It's a little takes a little to get into that book, but it's a classic book. He explains the whole fifth canto. Once you read the book, fifth canto, you'll just walk in the park. It's like, yeah, what's the big deal? Seriously, fifth canto. People get to fifth canto of Bhagavatam, and it keeps like hitting the brick wall. Now, what is this? What is this? Like hitting the brick wall. You can't penetrate through, right? I mean, some of you. I mean, of course, practiced devotees should be okay. But if you're not practiced and if you haven't drilled through the metaphysics of this, when you read the fifth canto of Bhagavatam, you're like, wow. So Bhumandala, Sataputta Prabhu, he writes Vedic astronomy. In that book, he kind of just mellows down the whole thing and sees it's not so out of the box, like, what do they say? Far out. It's very comprehensible. And he gives all the calculations. So Bhumandala is that whole, the galaxy thing that you see. What's the name of the galaxy? Milky Way. Okay, yeah. Bit rusty this morning. Jaladhi, by oceans. Mekalam, bound. Akalaya, considering. Kala, by time. Upasrishtam, created. Iti, thus. Sa, he, prayayo, went, Vishalam to Badrikashram. That's very interesting because how Prabhupada chose Vishalam to be Badrikashram it's a whole other historical thing. I won't bore you today, but some other time maybe. Why would he choose Vishalam word to the Badrikashram? Because from linguistically, where is the connection? But there is some historical background, but some other time. I won't bore you today. So I think I've already bored you. Some of you may come to class and say, "Oh God, this guy again. Who gave him the mic?" we haven't got all day, for God's sake. Okay, let's do call and response. Thus Dhruva Maharaja at the end left his kingdom, which extended all over the earth and was bounded by the great oceans. He considered his body, his wife, his children, his friends, his army, his rich treasury, his very comfortable palaces, and his many enjoyable pleasure grounds to be creations of illusory energy. Thus, in due course of time, he retired to the forest in the Himalayas known as Badrikashram. Okay, so like I was just saying, Dhruva Maharaja goes back to Godhead. It's quite, it's like sometimes, like I was saying, like in future maybe generations to come, young devotees will start reading and say maybe Bhava Vibhushana goes back to Godhead, and it's a little topic. I'm serious. Some young devotees for like 35 or 2055, some young little children may come and says Sriman Narsimha goes back to Godhead. We never know. Why should we underrate ourselves so? I mean, of course we are humble. Humble doesn't mean that we are not, I mean, we are so inclusive that we don't consider our exclusiveness, our unique position in Krishna's plan. You understand? You don't become so humble that you stop recognizing your unique position in Krishna's plan. Of course we have to be humble, but it needs to be balanced. You don't lose the track of you have a unique position in Krishna's plan. Krishna's story is never complete without mentioning you. Did I just make your day? Krishna's story is not complete without mentioning you. without mentioning, what's your name? Huh? Nipendra. Nipendra. Krishna's story is never complete without mentioning Nipendra. It's not complete without mentioning Edward. It's not complete without mentioning Sriman Narsingha. Not complete without mentioning Nehra. Sorry, what's your name? Natasha. Krishna's story is not complete without mentioning you. Because you are part and parcel. Mamevamsho Jiva Loka. You are part of Krishna. So how can it, you understand? So, someday it will be like that. Edward goes back to Godhead or something. The story, good story. It will be a good story. And he was a classic Star Wars narrator. He knew the inside outs of the Millennium Falcon. and then he detached himself. He detached himself from all these Ramya enjoyments of Star Wars, and then he pulled himself out and he went back to Godhead. It's a classic story, isn't it? Anyway, okay. So there's something in the translation that I wanted to point out, because Prabhupada is just extremely top-class scholar. He has chosen something in this translation very carefully, illusory. If you read carefully, in the translation, he chose the word illusory. Most of the transcendentalists, most of the people who take this path, quickly jump into the words like illusion. But there is a big difference between illusion and illusory. And you may be saying, why does Radhika Prasad make big deal about little things? It is very big and little. Because when you say illusion is a magician that comes and pulls a rabbit out of the hat. He shows that there was nothing in the hat before. He'll just show to you the hat upside down, inside hollow. He just does that, and then the rabbit comes out. So illusion is there isn't anything. Illusory is there is something, but which makes you believe as it is something else. It is temporary, but it makes you believe as if it's permanent. So when you take this whole material, so-called double quotes material world, or maybe just say physical world, just leave it at that. This physical world, when you take this, is as like an illusory thing that is indicating to something else. This physical world that we are seeing is indicating to some other reality. When this whole cloud is removed, then what you're seeing is the real world. So there's a difference between illusion and illusory. If you go to India, which I was born in India, I grew up in India, and I'm kind of a Brahma Bandhu. I'm not like totally Brahmana, because some kind of funny mixture. Anyway, but I was living in a Brahmana colony, and if you can imagine, I was just surrounded by Brahmavadis, 24/7, yagnas. In the morning, swaha, 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 morning to evening. That's what all I would hear. And what happens is, I used to remember when they were speaking, they quickly jumped and say, this is all illusion. No, it's nothing there. You're just imagining something is there. And said, okay, well, can I just come and just give you a good punch in the gut and tell me if it's illusion? It hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, it hurts. But why did it hurt? If nothing is there, something is there. The point is it's alluding to something else. That's the problem. Does it make sense? So there's a big difference between illusory and illusion. So the problem is we have to see that there is something else this whole thing is indicating us towards. Does it make sense? Now, before you go to sleep, I'll give you before I'm putting you to sleep, it's not your fault. Sorry. I don't mean that. Before I put you to sleep, a Sankirtan story. So very knowledgeable gentleman read quite a bit of Chinmayananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda, And what's the other guy that goes around? Ramana Maharshi. Sorry, yeah, Ramana Maharshi. Sorry, I don't mean any disrespect to them. So, anybody listening on the air video, please, no disrespect. So, he knew his thing inside out, and he came to me and he said, I took some books from you before. Oh, I said, thank you very much. So, how did you get along? He said, no, I want a bit more. What do you mean you want a bit more? I want a bit more. What? Bit more than what? I want a bit more than Bhagavad Gita. I said, what do you mean you want a bit more than Bhagavad Gita? What do you mean you want a bit more than? No, I just feel like, no, did you actually read it? I read a little parts of it. Oh God. Okay, you killed me there. So which parts did you read? No, it just says you do your duty. No, nobody says you do your duty, okay? Nobody says you do. If you're stupid, we ask you to stop. Okay? We're not like that. If you're doing a stupid duty, we ask you to stop it. We're not saying just do your duty. So clearly you're not going through with the fine tooth comb. So what's your I want to understand the illusory nature of this world. I want to understand the root cause. I want to see what is my root cause. Am I going, oh my God, you're killing me. You're seriously killing me. So you haven't read the 15th chapter? Narupamasyeha tatopalabhyate nanto na chadir na sampratishta ashwathamevam viruda moolam asanga shastrena dhrudena chuttva. Very good. Very good. Narupamasyeha tatopalabhyate. What is Krishna saying? This is so illusory, you'll never find the root of it here. Nanto na chadir na cha sampratishta. Na anta, you can't see the end of it. Nanto na chadir, you can't see the beginning of it. Ashwatthamenam savirura moolam. You gotta just pull this. Asanga shastrena. Take the sword of your detachment. That's what Dhruva Maharaj is doing. Taking the sword of his detachment. Dridena chittva. Asanga shastrena, dridena chittva. Yes, very good. So, cut it out. Narupamasyeha tatopala. You'll never find the form, rupam. You'll never find the form, the original form of it. Rupam means form. Narupamasyeha tatopalabhyate. Na chanto, na chadi, na cha samprishta. Ashwatthamenam saviruda moolam asanga shastrena dridena chittva. Tata param tat parimargitavyam. Purusham pardam. Purani. Fantastic. Okay. That's it. You stole our hearts. You need, please. Very good. Someday you can teach me a little bit, please. So this is fantastic. Oh, this makes your day, doesn't it? So, I'm saying, so you didn't read all that? Tata padam tat parimargitavyam. He's saying, you don't get this, you don't see the root of it. Tata padam tat parimargitavyam. Please look at that indicating the real world. Tata padam tat parimargitavyam. Yasmin gatona nivartanti bhuya. When you go there, you don't want to come back. It's like you go to the holidays, and then the Easter holiday is finishing on Sunday, and Monday is finished, and you want to go back to work? Nah. Yasmin gatona nivarti bhuvya tameva chadyam purusha purani yadha pravruti prashtha purani yadha pravruti, from his pravruti, from his circulation. The reference point is that purusha. We are looking for a reference point here, and that reference point is that purusha. When you have that reference point, then you don't want to come back. Yada pravruti prashtha purani. Everything is established by this Purani, this oldest, beginningless person. And I said to him, what are you talking? What do you mean you need more than Bhagavad Gita? What's the matter with you? So there is two problems. The illusory, I just want to expand a little bit on this illusory thing. Is it okay? Am I completely like Radhika Prasad, you got to stop now. Is that how you're feeling? Please, right now. So there's two things about illusory energy we need to know. There's two problems. Number one, anybody heard of Heraclitus? You have? Wow. I don't have another gland. So Mataji will share with you. She's very kind. So Heraclitus was a pre-Socratic philosopher. He said something very interesting, and the reason it's very interesting is exactly the same time when Buddha was propounding the same thing in the East. That's why it's very ironical. So East and West were always talking. What is he say? He says you never put your foot in the river twice. You never put your foot in the river twice. Why? आप अपना कदम दो बार नदी में नहीं रख सकते हो. You don't put your river, you never can put your foot into the river twice. You know why? Because the first, yeah? No, the river has moved. And when you put the second time, it's a completely new water. You understand? Because the river is always, when you go to Ganga, if you get a chance to go to Rishikesh or Banaras, that's where you see the real Ganga. The rest of the Ganga, wherever you see, I mean, personally for me. So, of course, Mayapur also. But when you put your, it's gone. Banaras, you should see, you put the water, you better hold on to the chain there. Oh my God, if you're a good swimmer, it's okay. If you're not a good swimmer, better hold on to that chain pretty tight. Because the water is going, it's washing you off. So you got to be a good swimmer. If you're not, then be careful. So you never put your foot in one river twice. The reason is because you put your foot once, you get back. Second time when you put, it's whole new river. The water has changed. What that means is this world is always changing. So what you can also say, you never breathe in the same body twice. Why? Because the second time when you're breathing, the body has changed completely. We don't see. We have to go to that nanosecond to see how much the body has changed in your second breath. It's changed. It's a new body. Just do that. You do the second time. It's changed. There's so many cells coming and going and moving and transforming and generating and what's the word? Anyway, mutating. Sorry, yeah, that's the word. Mutating. So many cells, so many things mutating in the body. The mutant. What a world. So the mutating in the body, you take one breath, the second time it's not the same body. That's one problem in this world. Everything is constantly changing. The second problem is everything is dependent on something else. The rain is dependent on the clouds are dependent on the sun is dependent on the gravity's rotations. All the physical laws are constantly interdependent. So if you say, okay, this is dependent on this, that's dependent on this is dependent on that, that's dependent on that, nothing can exist like that. There has to be some reference point which is not dependent on anything. You have to come to a point where there has to be some reference which is not dependent on anything. And that is Sarva Karana Karanam. Please understand. Please understand. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, beginningless, Sarva Karana Karanam, who doesn't depend on any other cause. So we have to come to, we cannot keep going on in the world. Two things, we cannot keep going on in the world that's constantly changing, like Heraclitus says. Buddha said the same thing. Always changing. The world's always changing. So nirvana, that's why he said nirvana. Vana means always changing. It's a flow. Nirvana means stopping that flow. That's why he called it nirvana. We call it apavarga. So stopping that flow. And interestingly, same contemporaries, same time. They were both living on the same planet at the same time, contemporaries. And here Heraclitus says, you don't step in a river twice. And here Buddha is saying, Nirvana, stop this flow. Is East and West so different? Think about it. No. They're always talking. They're always talking. This is only just recently, since the colonizations, that the East and West are like completely two different things. And then you talk in the between, like Persia and Iran and, Afghanistan. So now after these colonizations and all the wars and something, like this middle part is completely almost ignored. Isn't it? Am I wrong or am I right? It's complete. The middle part is completely gone unless you go to Lord of the Rings and you see the Middle Earth. So it's completely, no, they were all talking all the time. So it's very interesting how Heraclitus and Buddha were talking about the same thing. So that's the illusory energy part of it. So what he's talking, if you read, and interestingly again, this topic is very, very deeply discussed by Nagapatnis in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. This is very interesting. They say something very interesting. When they're glorified, when the Kaliya serpent, you heard of the Kaliya serpent? He's been like smashed by Krishna quite a bit. Just really gave him a good round. Like Krishna gave him a good, like winded him out, so to speak. Just gave him a good wind out. And then he's nearly out of breath, and like if it continued, he could die. So his Nagapatnis come. They're all very mystical people. Okay, mystical serpents from Nagalokas. And they come and they're glorifying and they talk some of the topics and they say, Anakritasya, you can be seen in the unmanifest, and they say Sarvakritya, and you can also be seen in the movements of this world. Now this is very, 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 like, here is Heraclitus, which is pre-Socratic philosopher, here is Buddha, and here is Nagapatnis, who are saying, when you pay attention to this, the maneuvers, when you pay attention to the traces, when you pay attention to the flows of this world, we will see you. We can see you, Krishna. It's very interesting. How? Because two things. It's called, these words have parallels in English, in Western philosophy. It's called metaphysical necessity. Okay, before you start throwing things at me, I'll explain what it means. Edward has a big steel bottle there, I want to be careful. So metaphysical necessity means, meta comes from Latin, clearly Greek. Physics is something you can touch and feel with your senses. Meta is beyond the senses. There has to be something, this changing beyond, like changing physical sense. There has to be something beyond metaphysical necessity, which becomes a foundation of everything that exists. You cannot just keeping talking and studying and academizing yourself about things that are laws and things that are always constantly changing, unfoundationally depending on each other. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, Bhava. It doesn't work like that. There has to be a reference point. Meta means beyond. Physics, beyond these things that we are touching and seeing with our gross senses, there has to be, and it's called metaphysical necessity. Necessity is foundational. There has to be a person. Adhyatma vritta vinurta kama. Dvandva mukta sukha dukkha sangha gacchantya muda avyamta. Nirmana moha jitasanga dosha. Adhyatma vidya kama. Sangha gacchantya muda padama vyayamta. Very, very good. I am so impressed. Way you made my day. So nirmana moha jitasanga dosha adhyatma vritya vinivritta karma dvandvair vimukta this duality of contingent, this duality of dependency and this changing. Vinirmukta, get yourself out of that, pull yourself out. Gacchantya mudha padamavyanta, amudha, disconfused, disillusioned, padamavyanta, you got to see at that direction. So there has to be a reference point. So going back to my Sankirtan story, I said, what do you mean you need more than Bhagavad Gita? I mean, I am confused. You haven't read this? No, I want to understand the instruments of knowledge. I said, you're really killing me. You haven't read 18th chapter? Krishna is crying out loud. See, the problem is, this is the problem in India. Sorry, I don't mean any offense to patriotic Indians out there online, but I'm just saying, because people, when we have something available too much, we take it for granted. It's a human tendency. When you have something available at your hand, you take it for granted. It's a human tendency. Even devotees, when you have a devotee available too much in front of you, you start, rather than seeing what you can learn, you start, is he really a devotee? I saw him eating chips that may have some traces of onion. I said, oh God. Is that all you're worried about? I mean, I'm not saying go and eat onions, but I'm saying there got to be a better measure than that, for God's sake. So we take things for granted. Bhagavad Gita is so available in India. And what happens, they take it for granted. Krishna, what does Krishna say in 18th chapter? He starts his basic foundation of what is called, first we talked about metaphysical necessity. The second thing you need to understand from Nagapatni is ontological necessity. Okay, so I'm going to take this slow. Metaphysical necessity is something beyond. But that metaphysical necessity cannot just remain beyond and aloof. It has to be involved in this world to run this world, which is the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. The whole point Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is screaming his lungs out about Achintya Beda Beda Tattva is Krishna is aloof and at the same time he's involved. That's the whole point of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. So one, his metaphysical necessity, he is necessary as beyond, being beyond as a reference point, and he also needs to be involved in this world. Otherwise it doesn't work. And what does he say? Panchaitani Mahabaho Karana Nibodhane Sankhya Kritante Praktani Siddhe Sarva Karmana. He says that there are 5 things in this world that are ontologically. Ontological means existential nature. So existentially, you need something that is always foundationing. And what does that say? Adhishtanam. A base where you can perform, a dais where you can accomplish your activities in this world. Adhishtanam, tata karta. And you need an actor. Karanam, you need various instruments of action. Adhishtanam tata karta, karanam chakrita, vividhascha krita cheshtha. So actions needs to be performed. And what does he finally? Daivam chayatra pancham. The final 5th cause is Daivam, the transcendental, divine, beyond the world, transcendental Krishna coming and forming the connection to all these other 4 causes. So Krishna is aloof as a metaphysical necessity, but Krishna is also involved. Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham tesva avasthita. Macha matstani bhutani pashyami yogamaishvara. Look at this, my divine, mystical, divine, miraculous power. I am I am beyond this, and at the same time, I am ontologically necessary for you guys now to be performing your functions. Your existence is never independent. Your existence is never independent. What is that? Prakriti one who thinks that only I am the reason for everything, he says, is complete idiot, complete stupid. So we have to consider all these things. So now, okay, what's the time? Okay. Now, did I read the purport? So in the beginning of his life, when he went to the forest in search of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj realized that all bodily conceptions of pleasure are products of illusory energy. In the very beginning, of course, he was after the kingdom of his father, and in order to get it, he went to search for the Supreme Lord. But he later realized that everything is creation of illusory. See, very careful language. Illusory energy. Illusory energy. From the acts of Srila Dhruva Maharaj, we can understand that somehow or other, if one becomes Krishna conscious, somehow, just survive, just keep breathing. Challenges will come. Just keep breathing. Just stay alive in Krishna consciousness. Challenges will come. Just stay alive in Krishna consciousness. Yeah? You will get through. Krishna will get you through, I promise. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Just keep breathing and stay alive. Just keep breathing. Stay alive. Yes? So as it does not matter what his motivation in the beginning is. What were my motivations when I came to Krishna consciousness? To tell you the truth, I was a bachelor living a student life. I was in university. I just came here so that I didn't have to cook at home. So I could because the feast in those days, like Mark was the cook, Guru Shakti Das, Vijay Goranga, Mark, Atmaram Prabhu, and Mark used to be a chubby, stocky, like fit guy. He used to, oh my God, what a feast! Beautiful feasts. And I just used to come, so I just had like good feast, and they allowed me to pack lunch for. So anyway, that's why I came. I was just working just down up just up the road here, Ernest Street and Miller Street, corner of Ernest Street and Miller Street. So I was too hungry. The shift finished at 2 o'clock, and I used to come here and just wait for it. I didn't why I didn't notice. I just thought Prasadam coming. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter how you start, but keep breathing in Krishna. Can you do that? Just keep breathing in Krishna. Breathe. Are you reading Bhagavad Gita? Little bit. How does a lion eat an elephant? How does a lion eat an elephant? Piece by piece. I know it's a non-vegetarian allegory, but little by little, 4 pages a day keeps the doctor away. 4 pages a day keeps the doctor away. 4 pages a day, just keep doing it. I did that 62 times. 4 pages, 5 pages a day, 62 times. Seriously, it's beautiful. Don't miss out. Yeah? You got a copy? You gonna get a copy? Over there? Please. Yeah? Thank you for coming. So, okay, from the acts of Sri Dhruva Maharaj, we can understand that somehow or other, if one becomes Krishna conscious, it does not matter what his motivation is in the beginning. He will eventually realize the real truth by the grace of the Lord. He will get you through, I told you. In the beginning, Dhruva Maharaj was interested in the kingdom of his father, but later he became a great devotee, Mahabhagavad. He had no interest in material enjoyment. perfection of life can be achieved only by devotee. Even if one completes only a minute or minute percentage of devotional service and then falls down from his immature position, he's better than a person who fully engages in the fruitive activities of this world. Now the question may arise, such kind of realized souls like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, if you remember a few verses before this, Yaksha's Kuvera Maharaj comes to Dhruva and he blesses him and he tells him you have to extinguish and you have to exhaust all your pious actions and you have to make sure you have exhausted all your reverse pious, which is sinful actions. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj doesn't have any sins, but any actions, karma of attachments, it needs to be exhausted. And that's why you need to live a little longer in this world and show an example in this world. So if we are all devotees, yesterday someone was asking me, who was asking me, I told him that I used to be a Mayavadi monk before I came to Krishna consciousness. And he was asking me, so what's the deal? What do you realize? So I was just having a chat with him. I was saying the point is coming and we have to go out in the world and so the world can see our example. Monks doesn't, please, monks don't think in your mind that monks are just, you mostly we see that Buddhist monks and Catholic monks and Jesuits and all that, long robes and some kind of, no, you are a monk. I'm serious. You reading Bhagavad Gita? You following the four regulative principles? You're a monk. You reading Bhagavata? You're a monk. Yeah? So the bodily differences, no, doesn't matter. So I said to him, we have to set an example in the world. You can't just, you're a monk. You are. In a Krishna conscious way. Sarva karvana pisada kurvana madvapashrita. Chetasa sarva karmani my sannyasa matpara. Mattishta satatam bhava. You are a monk. You understand? So, Chetasa sarva karmani my sannyasa matpara. Krishna clarifies in 18th chapter. What is a monk? Asakta buddhi sarvatma. Jitatmana vigata spira. Naishkarmya siddhi paramam sannyasena vigacchati. That's sannyasa. That's a monk. Krishna explains all that in 18th chapter. What is a monk? What is a satyagi? What is a sannyasi? Very detailed. So I said to this guy who came to me, I said, what are you talking about? That you need more than Bhagavad Gita. I don't understand. So you're not paying attention, or you putting this Bhagavad Gita into this Hindu box. That's the problem. Either you're not paying attention, or you put this Bhagavad Gita into this Hindu box of Aratis in Banaras. No, Bhagavad Gita is not a Hindu box. Every other box falls into the Krishna consciousness. The big, spacious, unwalled, unboundary, limitless box. So that's the problem you're facing. Oh my God. So how do I know all this? You say you have to read Isha Upanishad then. To get to Bhagavad Gita, you have to completely inside out by heart Isha Upanishad, the nectar of instructions, the nectar of devotion. Where are they? I said, funny you asked that question. I've got them right here. Very funny you asked me that question. Anyway, I gave him more books. And I think then he said, can I talk to your wife? He said, why? I just want to know, do you, like the way you're talking, do you actually live in your house? I said, whoa, moment of truth. And I said, I was walking towards my wife. No, I want you to stay there, and I want your wife, have a chat with your wife separately. And I said, oh, okay. Anyway, he had a half an hour chat with my wife, and he wanted to know, does he actually just speak, or he actually does these kind of things at home? And my wife kind of talked, and before going, he just gave me, I'll read these books now. That's not bad. You got to know who you're speaking with. You don't want to speak to hypocrites. Don't want to speak some hypocrites. So I actually appreciated what he did. He said, you stay there, I want to speak to your wife. Do you just talk or you act? She will be able to tell me. I said, "Oh." So anyway, that was interesting. So final point. So the final point is, why does, if you remember Prahlad Maharaj, Narasimha Bhagwan's advice to um, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhogena punyam kushalena papam kalam javena kalevaram hitva kirtim prasiddham surloka geetam vitaya mameshyasi mukta bandha. Wow. Saved myself there. So, Bhogena punyam kushalena papam. Prahlad Maharaj, when he comes to Narasimha Maharaj, Narasimha Bhagwan, he says, that's it, I'm done, I want to go with you. Narasimha Bhagwan, I mean, at least the expression, the body language was that. But Narasimha Bhagwan says, no, 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 no. Bhogena punyam kushalena papam. With your life in this world, you have to spend your life in this world bhogena punyam, by making sure your punya activities, your pieties are exhausted. Kushalena papam, your sins are also exhausted by how? Welfare activities. Bhogena punyam kushalena papam kalevaram kala jagena hitva. That's how you have to spend your rest of your life. Kirtim prasiddham suraloka geetam. When you spend your life like this, like Bhagavad Gita, with a life of conscious Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, someone asked me, what is the good time, what is the best time to read Gita? I was doing it, books, I mean, I'm doing books all the time. But somewhere, someone came to me and said, what is the best time to read Gita? Could you tell? I mean, maybe they knew a little bit about ISKCON. They said, Prabhuji. And I was like, oh, so Prabhuji, oh, okay. Okay. In the middle of somewhere like big city metropolis, in the middle of the street. And I said, well, what's the best time to read Gita? And I said, I'll tell you what's the best time to read Gita. I said, put your finger at your nose. I said, can you feel your breath? Yeah. As long as you're feeling your breath, that's the best time to read Gita. What does that mean? I said, all the time. That's the best time to read Gita. You can't, too late. You can't read Gita when you're dead. Too late. Under the mud. Cross up the coffin. Too late, buddy. Too late, mate. So you have to make this Bhagavad Gita and Nectar of Devotion, Ishopanishad, your life and soul. Bhagavad Gita has to become your life and soul. Not like a fanatic. I don't mean it like a fanatic. What I mean to say, it's clearing your position. It shows your unique position in Krishna's drama, in Krishna's life. I repeat the same thing I said in the beginning. Your life, Krishna's story is never complete without mentioning you guys. Each of you. Did I make your day? God's life is not complete without mentioning each of you. Did I make your day? Am I going to get valuable prizes after this class? Just joking. God's story is not complete without mentioning your name. What is your name? Jia. Riya. God's story, Krishna's story is not complete without mentioning you, because you are part of Him. Did I make your day? Amazing. All of you, take your names and tell that to yourself. God's story is not complete without mentioning. When you say me, say your name. And see the power you can feel. See what the effect to this world will be. So that's what Narasimha Bhagwan is saying to Prahlad Maharaj. Bhogena punyam kushalena papam kalam javena kalevaram hitva kirtim prasiddham suraloka geetam. Your glory, your kirti will be so great. Suraloka, the celestial worlds will start singing your glories. When you understand that Krishna's story is not complete without you, you have a unique part to play in Krishna's story. And then you act in his story. Kirtim prasiddham, your glory will become so great, the celestial worlds will start singing your glory. Kirtim prasiddham suraloka geetam. Vitaya, by such spreaded glories, mame vaishashi mukta sangha, you will come to me completely detached from this Metaphysical contingency, ontological contingency. You must be thinking, if I see this guy again in the Bhagavatam class next time, I'm going to walk out. I know exactly what to do. Jump out of here. Make sure to get some neurofans. I'll quickly summarize whatever I can remember. I spoke about illusory energy. And I gave you two examples of why there is a difference between illusion and illusory. Philosophical difference. I can write a whole book on that. There's a philosophical difference between illusion and illusory. Illusion means something that's not there. Illusory means you are taking this temporary thing to be permanent. You are taking your body to be permanent when your consciousness is permanent. You are a conscious entity completely separate from this body. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you can see clearly, I'm a consciousness separate from the body. The body dies, but I'll move on. It's not like you wake up in a hospital ward. You will sail through this body, completely conscious, moving and walking out, knowing what your next destination is. What a life. What a death. What a life. What a death. So I spoke about this illusion and illusory, right? And I spoke about how Krishna, by quoting so many Western philosophers, Buddha and Nagapatnis, the prayers of Nagapatnis, I showed you how there has to be a metaphysical necessity, a necessity that's beyond this everything depends on everything world. One, it is changing all the time. Two, everything depends on, if everything depends on everything, how can anything be there? There has to be something, what Aristotle calls, like there has to be a point where everything has foundationalism, everything has to stop. Cause of all causes, and that is Krishna. You may be able to comprehend endlessness, but what you can't comprehend is beginningless. Did I give you something to think about today? You may be able to comprehend endlessness somehow, because we watch so many boring movies and we think, okay, when is it going to end? Just joking. So what I mean, NPR, National Public Radios, like when they do donations, when is this going to end? So you can understand endlessness easily, but you never comprehend beginningless. You don't have any beginning. Just meditating on this, you can transcend. You can transcend death. Just meditating on this, that you don't have a beginning, you can transcend death. So I talk about metaphysical necessity and I talk about ontological necessity, how Krishna is needed in this world as a foundational principle. We cannot just have everything depending on everything. There has to be something that's foundationally holding us together. I can do 36 classes on this, because your body, it's mutating every single breath. Every single breath you're taking, your body is mutating and changing. You're not in the same body. Just like you don't step in the same river twice, because the river has moved, in the same way, you don't breathe in the same body twice. Wow. So I spoke about that. And finally, I spoke about how there needs to be some examples. Monk, you are a monk, you are a monk. Don't be shy. We cannot be so humble that we forget our unique position in Krishna's stories. You understand? You are as much as a monk as Edward. You are as much as a monk as Bhava. You are as much as a monk as Sriman. You are as much as a monk. You're reading Gita every day. You're reading Bhagavatam. You practically by hearted 15th chapter. You kept going on with me. You made my day. And you follow the principles. You're chanting Hare Krishna. You are a monk, for God's sake. Don't worry about the bodies. It'll move like that. I'm 46 years old. I'm telling you, I turn back and where did this go? It's just gone. I have 2 children. And they're moving into teenage, they're moving into university now. I'm looking at their lives and thinking, God damn it. How fast did this time flew? So it's not going to be too long. We're not going to be history. At some stage, someone is going to read your story, like just like you read Dhruva Maharaja goes back to Godhead. Someone's going to read stories. Edward goes to back to Godhead. Bhava goes to back to Godhead. Shriman Narsingha goes back to Godhead. Naira goes back to Godhead. Natasha goes back to Godhead. What's your name, Mataji? Sorry? Santosh Mataji goes back to Godhead. You understand? This is classic life. So this is the life we are inviting you into. Krishna consciousness. It's a beautiful life. Don't worry about the rules in the beginning. At least start reading book. At least start reading Gita. Every day. 4 pages a day keeps the doctor away. What's the best time to read Gita? As long as the breath is working, that's the best time to read Gita. If you find the big book a little hard, there are some Gita guides. There are some books that will help you to get there, like Hiding in Unnatural Happiness, and I also have some Gita guides. So read those through, and it will become step by step. It will become easier for you to get there. Find it to get to be able to read the Gita and Bhagavata. But please take this as your life and soul. It's not a religious thing, like in double quotes. It is about your consciousness, understanding your identity. What is your role? What on the God's planet are we doing here? Wherever we go, where is this going? When does this madness end? How does this madness end? So all this can be explained by reading Gita. So please read Gita. Please read Bhagavatam. I think it's 9 o'clock now. I'll stop otherwise I can talk underwater. So I'll stop talking. But if there is any questions or comments or rectifications, and but we don't do refunds, by the way. Just joking. I'm a volunteer. So just in case you're going for refunds, we lost the FPOS machine now. So if there's any comments or questions, I'm very happy. I have no issues. Please. Well, I'll tell you what I do. It may not work for you, but it may work for you. The way I do is in the last, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, something like that. Yeah, something like that. In the lunchtime, even when I was working, it was 1 hour lunch, but I used to take 2 hours. Hope my I mean, I'm retired now. I'm out of that bag. So if my boss is listening, hello. That's why I was missing. So I used to go for 2 hours walks, and in the 2 hour walks on the phone, I was just flipping pages every day. And then I read like the whole, like, and now it's 62 times now. So just, I don't recommend if it doesn't work for you, please. But sometimes it could be 15 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. Some days it's hard. 10 minutes. I'm walking, it's on my pockets Vedas, right? You're just flipping. You're just reading. Of course, I'm watching where I'm going. But when I'm walking, I'm just flipping the pages. And in the morning, if it's done first thing, Bhagavatam first thing in the morning, just get the 1 hour out of the day, Bhagavatam first thing in the morning. And then in the evening before to sleep, maybe another hour. And then in the, somewhere we're walking to the stations, work, coming back, just flipping through the page, sitting in the train, just flipping a few verses, that helps. And so find a convenient time. My time doesn't work, may not work for you, but tailor a need. But it's got nothing to do. Krishna is not Indian and Gita is not Hindu. I can scream out of lung and tear my lungs apart. This is not Hindu. This is a study of consciousness. This is a story about you. You want to know your identity, you want to know your future, please read this. Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Any other questions? Yeah. Personally, I don't know how the the other religious organizations work. Personally, when I'm reading, I personally, if anybody sings with my kind of mentality, even Gita, I'd recommend reading. Of course, after you read the first chapter, I personally read the 13th chapter, and I was like blown away. 13th chapter and 18th, 13th, 14th, and 18th blew my mind away. I was like sold, and then I came back to the second chapter. So, I mean, whatever works. The point is, the way I see it, the point is connect to it. If something is not working, move on to the next one. That's I always say to people. Okay, Prabhuji, I got stuck, and then I gave some books to one of my students who does book distributions with me, and he said, "This is not working," so I moved on. I said, "Fantastic. Move on to the point that works for you." You understand? So whatever makes you energized in this journey. Is that okay? How was it? Like, any more other comments, questions? Any comments, questions? All good? You must be thinking, oh God, Radhika Prasad Prabhu, what are you doing to us? You okay, or like, through you come? All good? You happy? You. No, you, Prabhuji. Yeah, you good? Happy? Okay. So, oh, Hare Krishna. Good to see you. Anyway, I'll stop there now. I mean, really, I'm being very sincere. You could be doing so many other things than listening to my, you know, very thankful that you're here. This seva is great. Hearing is great. Listening is great. Talking is also okay, but not like me. But hearing and listening is very good. So please take this to heart. Please make your life successful. Learn how to balance your material and spiritual lives. Balance them. There is a way to do it. And if you don't have guidance, please approach someone who can do it. But please don't give me an excuse that this world is so desperate that you can't find anyone. No, that's not. No, there are people. What do they say in the Tibetan Book of the Dead? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So are you ready or not is the question. Don't tell me, this world is so desperate, I can't see anybody, I never got any connection. Come on. Let's be fair income, not flippants. Let's be fair income. Correct. Be aware that you are a conscious entity, not this body. Your body is like a bubble. It will be finished and gone. What you will be is a conscious entity. You stick to that Atma Gyan. You stick to that Atma position. When you stick to that Atma position, Krishna will send you help. See, Krishna is not a psychopath. If someone is struggling, he knows someone is struggling for his Atma. He sends help. We cannot discount his play in our success. Or at least not kind of forget in some point. He's watching you all the time. You're struggling. You want to be Atmagyan. You want to stay away. He'll send you help. But he'll also send you tests sometimes. Because there is some, pride and self-righteousness he's got to clear out. So sometimes he has to send tests. But he will always send you help. You are not alone. You are never alone. Happy? Happy? Did I make your day? Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.